Hello, welcome back to the Canvas Bootcamp. In this exercise, you will learn to use the pixel manipulation methods and properties. Pixel manipulation is useful for copying the pixels within a specified rectangular region on the canvas, and for creating new image data objects for manipulation or transformation. The first thing I'm going to do on my canvas is add two rectangles, and each has a different fill style. The first has a magenta fill style, and the next has a blue fill style. The first one is placed at 20x and 20y, and the second rectangle is placed at 40x and 40y. So let's see what that gives us. Okay, now we'll begin some pixel manipulation using all three methods and all three properties that are associated with pixel manipulation on the canvas. So what we'll do is go down a couple of lines and we'll type in var source, and that's equal to ctx.getImageData method. Now getImageData takes four parameters: the x position, the y position, the width, and the height. And getImageData returns an image data object corresponding to the rectangle that we're going to set using these four parameters. So you set your getImageData rectangle whatever x position you want, and since our first rectangle started at x20 and y20, that's where we're going to start our getImageData rectangle. So whatever pixels are within that rectangle that we specify here are going to be copied into the resulting image data object. So I'm going to start at 20, 20, and I'm going to go 50 pixels by 50 pixels. So 50 pixels wide, 50 pixels high, and I'm starting at 20x and 20y. Now at this point, you can use the ctx.putImageData method to put that image data back on the canvas, to draw it back to the canvas. So let's say we want to draw the source image data at an x position of 250 and a y position of 20. That way it's over here somewhere. Now let's refresh our canvas. You can see that we get new image data put at the location that we wanted, and the image data that we put corresponds to the pixels that we copied from this area of the canvas here. Now there's another method called createImageData, which creates new blank image data objects, and we'll show you how to use that right now as well. So we can remove this putImageData method momentarily. And what we'll do is put another variable in called copy, and this is going to be equal to ctx.createImageData, open close parentheses, semicolon. What you have to do is supply a width and height to the createImageData method. So I just want to make it equal to the width and height of my source image object. So I can just copy source and say source.width, and this is one of the properties that you can access for pixel manipulation, and then source.height. So essentially you could just put 50 and 50 here if you want to hard code those numbers in. Alright, so if we refresh our canvas, we only get the two original rectangles drawn because we haven't put the copy back onto the canvas. Now before we do that, we have to access the data property of the copy and populate it with the clamped array that is the data property for the source. Basically you want to make the copy.data equal to the source.data, and you can do that through a for loop. So let's open up a for loop, and the first parameter of the for loop is going to be var I is equal to 0. Then the next parameter of our for loop is we're going to get the copy.data property .length, and remember the data property is a clamped array, and what that clamped array represents is RGBA values for every pixel, and those values can vary from 0 to 255. So for the second parameter we're going to say while I is less than the copies.data.length, and I think for a 50 by 50 image data object it's going to be 20,000 pixels. And then finally the last parameter is I++. So this for loop is set up to pass over all of the data within that clamped array. So within the loop we can just say copy.data and put the I within the array index is equal to source.data, whatever index in the loop we are for the source data. So basically all it does is take the source data and puts it in the copies data. So that way this clamped array will be equal to this clamped array. And then finally we can put ctx.putImageData, and this time instead of putting the source or drawing the source back to the canvas, we're going to draw the copy. So let's just put in copy, and then the positioning. I wanted it 250x and 20y. So let's refresh, and we get the same effect. Now let's look at that file, preview in browser, Internet Explorer. Okay, so in Internet Explorer, we get the same results. Now there's another way that you can put the source data into the copies data, or you can set it. So if I was to comment out this for loop and we refresh, you'll see that we get no image data placed, because basically this copy is an empty image data object. Now you'll sometimes see people do something like this. Instead of the for loop that I created, they'll do something like this. They'll say copy.data.set. They'll run a set method on the data and they'll make it equal to the source.data. So basically you're taking the source data and you're setting the copy data with that data from the source. Now first let's check this in Chrome. So when I refresh, I get the same effect. So I don't have to run the for loop for Chrome. But now let's look in Internet Explorer. It seems that Internet Explorer, when I refresh, you see I get no result. That's because Internet Explorer for some reason is not respecting the set method. So in Firefox and Chrome, you'll see that you get good results if you use the set method for the data. But for Internet Explorer, I'm just going to copy out this line here, but I'll leave it in for referencing. And I'll put the for loop back in place. In Internet Explorer, you'll see we get the results we want with a simple for loop. Now if you ever need to copy the pixel data for actual images or external resources, files that are external resources, you might have trouble viewing that locally. Let me show you what I mean. I'll put in a var called pic and I'll make it equal to a new image object. So what I'll do is say pic.source is equal to whatever image I want to use. Now before I start adding my colored rectangles to the canvas, I'm going to say ctx.drawImage, and I'm going to put that image on the canvas by assigning pic as my first parameter and then where I want it to go. I'll just put it at 0x and 0y. So now if I refresh, you'll see that I get my pink ladybug behind those things because it was drawn to the canvas first. Now in my get image data, start at 0x, 0y, and I'm going to gather 100 pixels by 100 pixels. I'm going to copy that much data. Now if I refresh, we'll see that we also get actual image file data pixels copied within that region. Let's check that in Chrome. Now I don't see any results here in Chrome, and you might not see any results in Firefox either if you're testing locally. All you have to do is take this file, whatever Canvas tutorial test you're working on, and put it on your live web server. So that's what I'm going to do now. You'll see that with Internet Explorer in the local environment it worked, but for Chrome it doesn't. So I don't want you guys testing in Chrome with actual images and then it not working and you're wondering why it's not working. All you have to do is put these files online. So now instead of testing locally, I'm going to go to adamkhoury.com, canvastutorial.html. And now you see that in Google Chrome I also get the working results because I'm actually online. So if we test this locally, let's go to test preview in browser in Firefox. Well, it's working locally in Firefox. So Firefox and Internet Explorer are fine for working locally with getting this image data from the pink ladybug pic. But you'll see that Chrome for some reason has an issue because this is Chrome working online on my web server and you see it works just fine. But now if I go to File, Preview in Browser, Chrome in my local environment, I get no results because it's not respecting that image in my local environment. So if you're testing in Chrome and you happen to see no results, just put the files online is basically all I mean. Alright, so in this lesson you've learned about the three properties, which are width, height, and data. Those are the three properties that you can access for image data objects in your canvas pixel manipulation. And the three methods you can access are create image data, get image data, and put image data. Instead of using the source width and source.height, two parameters within the create image data method, you can just put one parameter equal to whatever image object you're referencing to. If you feed it one parameter, that will get the width and the height from the source image data object automatically. And to show it working, let's file, preview in Firefox. So you see we get the same results. So if you're ever in the scenario that I'm in where you're copying the pixel data from a certain portion of the canvas and you're creating a new image data object from that pixel data, you can just put one parameter there that's the source, or you can supply it with both parameters, which is the same effect.